Today we are going to talk about brain health and exercise. I don't know if that surprises anybody that exercise is a part of brain health, but it does influence, it can influence it negatively or positively, how our brain is healthy or how it ages also. You'll see over here the other influences of brain health that we're going to talk about for the next 6 weeks. Dive deep into each one of those areas of well-being, essentially, and learn best ways to incorporate those into our lives so we can have good brain health. Because we do want to, I think everybody's goal is to age healthy and stay autonomous and independent. I think that's a goal for everybody worldwide. But also understanding how can I reduce my risk for a dementia. And I do want to say that dementia, Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, these ones listed here that are progressive dementias, they are not a normal part of aging. They are unfortunately becoming a common part, but it's not normal. So we want to be aware what are those warning signs for them. But also understand that there are other causes of memory loss and confusion. Just because you might be having some abnormal memory loss or cognitive changes doesn't automatically mean it's a Alzheimer's disease or Lewy body dementia that's progressive. It can be one of these here. It's you have an infection, you're not managing any other health conditions like diabetes or a heart condition. Don't know that you have sleep apnea, and that can be contributing to some cognitive changes. A nutritional deficiency or metabolic problem as well, side effect to medications that we may be taking that we're not aware of. Lifestyle choices, and a lot of these wellness things we're going to talk about, these are lifestyle choices. We do have control over these, you know, whether it's we're smoking, we might be abusing drugs and alcohol, we might be just eating poorly. Depression and anxiety can also cause cognitive changes. I want to say, you know, Alzheimer's disease is not a normal part of aging and other related dementias. Depression is not a normal part of aging either. But I think that some people think it is because it is a common part of aging, unfortunately. But the changes that happen do look similar to the same changes that can happen with somebody that has dementia that's living with depression or an anxiety disorder. And also any unmanaged stress. You know, we get this, Holly and I get this fairly often from caregivers in the middle of caregiving for their loved one with dementia, and they think, gosh, I have it too. You know, I'm having these memory problems also. And it's scary. Sometimes we laugh about it. You know, I mean, sometimes I think, gosh, whew, I've caught it. You can't catch dementia or Alzheimer's disease. But it's that unmanaged stress that does have, or can influence, I should say, your brain health and ability to remember and the ability to focus and concentrate and all those things. So let's talk about real quickly what a normal, healthy older brain looks like, because as we get older, there are some changes that happen to us, that happen to the brain. Communication between our neurons is a little bit slower. It doesn't stop, it's not hindered, it's just a little bit slower, okay? Blood flow can be reduced to the brain, just blood flow is a little bit slower as we get older, so just getting it to the brain can be reduced, so you might see that. And there are some shrinkage in some areas of the brain that's normal. And that's where you might see that things are just a little bit slower. It's taken me a little bit longer to find that what's that word? It was right on the tip of my tongue. You know, something like that. It's the shrinkage in the brain is not, I've lost a memory. It's just that you kind of see it in the slowing things down. Inflammation can also increase within the brain. And we're also not able to hold on to as many those working memory items. When we're younger, we can hold generally 8 items at one time in my brain. As I get older, that number declines. So it might be I can only hold 5. So I'm seeing, gosh, I can't do as much as I used to. And that can be kind of disconcerting. I think, God, well, what's happening? It's just a normal part of aging. We just don't hold as many working memory items in our brain. And we do have a slower response to sensory stimulation because our senses are changing. as well. You know, you might be walking along and you trip over that, you know, crack in the sidewalk because I didn't see it. When we're younger, we generally catch ourselves when we do a trip. As we get older, we might not catch ourselves, and then we fall, we kind of fracture the wrist, you know, bruise up a little bit easier as well because we're just slower to respond to that stimulation. But on the other end, our brains become extremely resourceful. Comprehension and knowledge improves. We have all of this cognitive reserve, all the things that we've learned and developed over time. We have that available to us, and we'll always be able to pull it, recall it, use it. It might just take us a minute to recall it, but we'll always have it to do it, to recall it. We'll always have better skill at perceiving others' emotions, being able to weigh options, make better judgments, make better decisions. That's going to improve. And then we also have this plastic brain, or the neuroplasticity they talk about, and we'll talk about it a little bit more here in a minute, but it's really our ability to adapt to new challenges and new tasks that improves as we get older. And then we have this cognitive reserve that we work with. Like I just mentioned, I have this wealth of knowledge and information that I can always pull from. Even if I have a time in my life where my part of my brain is disrupted, or part of that something is disrupted, I have this reserve I can pull from, so it's that disruption is not as apparent. Quick brain facts, just to make sure we're on the same page, and understand that the brain is it's greedy. You know, it weighs about 3 pounds, a healthy brain does. It consumes 25% of our body's oxygen supply. So really 1 out of every 4 breaths goes directly to our brain. It consumes about 25% of the nutrients we put into our body. About 70% of that is a glucose supply. The brain needs that energy to function optimally. It is our fattest organ, and a lot of it is fat. The majority of it is fat. Each neuron in our brain, and we have anywhere between, let's say, 86 to 100 billion neurons in our brain. Each one, that one neuron can have 1 to 10,000 other connections throughout the brain. So this neuron can have 1 to 10,000 connections to other neurons in the brain. It's how complex and how resourceful it is. We will always have the ability to strengthen those neurons and those neuronal connections throughout the lifespan. Just because we get older doesn't mean we can't do that. You'll always be able to do that. And we do use 100% of our brain. We might not use 100% of it 100% of the time, but we are accessing all parts of our brain. So we want to make sure we are giving the brain what it needs to help us function optimally and age well. And exercise, of course, is one of the most important parts of us aging well for our whole bodies, but particularly our brain. There are real cognitive benefits to exercise. And we'll say some exercise is better than none, okay? And I also want to say, as we get to learn a little bit more about exercise and the type we need and how long, how much exercise do we need, it doesn't matter if you've never exercised before in your life, or you used to, it's just been several years since you've exercised, or you've been injured. When you start, doesn't matter how old you are, when you start, you're going to start to see the benefits. You just got to start. And it also needs to be a part of a long-term routine. It can't be like, well, I'm going to exercise this week and I'm going to see all these benefits. I wish it was that easy, but it's really got to be a part of your lifestyle. It's got to be who you are, a part of who you are and what you do. And physical activity, exercise, is your brain's best friend. It can increase a hippocampal volume. So these are areas of our brain in the prefrontal cortex. The hippocampus part of our brain houses our short-term memory and our ability to learn new information. This is also the area of the brain that Alzheimer's disease attacks first. So that hippocampus area, I want to make sure that's strong and that's healthy. And if I can exercise and really grow the volume of it, or even the size of it, then I want to do that. Because I want to have that short-term memory. I want to be able to take in new information, learn it, have it stored correctly where it needs to be stored in my brain. And exercise can do that. And some studies even say that the growth of the hippocampus is stronger if you're doing a physical activity that you enjoy doing. So So we want to find something that I like doing. It's also going to help you stick to it for a longer period of time if you like to do it. They also say aerobic exercise and strength training is better than just one or the other if you're doing them together. So we're talking about an aerobic exercise or that cardio exercise, that if you add in some strength training a couple of times a week, some studies have shown that that can really reduce your risk for Alzheimer's disease by up to half. Just cut that risk in half. Exercise also increases the blood flow throughout your whole body, but to the brain, because we need to get that blood flow going to get that oxygen and those nutrients up to the brain. And it strengthens the blood vessels, the walls of the blood vessels. So we want to make sure that those are strong so it can carry that blood, that oxygenated blood up to those brain cells. Help and keep grow the hippocampus, the cerebellum, and other regions of the brain. It can lower blood pressure. It reduces the risk of diabetes, other heart issues, breast and colon cancer. Really, what's good for your heart is good for your brain. So anything you do for brain health is automatically going to be good for your heart health, and vice versa. It's going to strengthen bones, muscles, help decrease the risk of falls, because you're going to have more strength, more stability just in your whole body. And it can also increase your confidence just really on your own 2 feet when you have that strength and stability. Increases the level of a molecule called the brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And this encourages growth and strengthens neurons. So if I want to make sure I have plenty of that molecule going on in my brain, and exercise helps increase that. It keeps the integrity of the gray and the white matter together, and you need the gray and the white matter to keep those neurons communicating back and forth to each other. And it enhances our executive function, and this has a lot of our ability to make good decisions, reduce our impulsivity, our cognitive control on what we're doing. Of course, it can help us improve sleep as well. We talked about sleep last week and the benefits of good sleep and the benefits of not so good sleep, or the not benefits of not so good sleep. It improves that sleep, but it also helps us get into an established sleep-wake cycle. You're kind of training your body to have energy and then be tired, and then it needs to rest and restore itself. It can also ease symptoms of depression and anxiety when it's a part of a long-term routine, right? So I've got to make this a part of what I do in my life so I can ease those symptoms of depression, whether now or possible future episodes of depression or anxiety as well. And it also, this aerobic exercise and the weight training seem to make our brain more flexible, and that's that neuroplasticity I mentioned earlier. The ability of our brain to easily change and adapt to new experiences and new things we learn. So there's a lot of benefits to exercise, really kind of like, why shouldn't we be exercising, right? A couple of examples, just some research that has been done to share with you guys. This internal medicine, almost a little over 1,700 people, 65 and older, were studied. And those that exercised more than 3 times a week were about 34% less likely to develop dementia. They also scored higher on tests of attention, verbal fluency, and memory. Yeah. So people, this Public Library of Science study, people with MCI or mild cognitive impairment, and this is a diagnosis where somebody does have some abnormal memory loss as they age, but there's not another cognitive issue that they're dealing with, they just have that abnormal memory loss. Somebody that has mild cognitive impairment, they're at a higher risk for developing dementia. About 50% of those individuals do go on to see another brain change and develop a progressive dementia. But this study took people with just mild cognitive impairment, so just some abnormal memory loss they had as they were aging, and they were either put into a group that had a multi-component exercise group, so they were actually exercising, doing different exercises, or the other half was put into an education group. So they were learning about exercising and good health. Those that were in the exercise group that actually did exercise improved their memory, maintained their cognition where they were at, their cognitive functioning where they were at, and reduced some of that atrophy or that shrinkage that that comes along with normal aging, but that does come along with dementia, lowered their cholesterol, and increased that brain-derived neurotrophic factor. The ones that were in the education group, they didn't see those benefits. And then the last one, the Northeastern University, talked about the benefits of the cardio aerobic exercise on the executive functioning, the decision-making, the planning, organizing. 6 months of exercise produced visible functional changes in the brain. Even those who had already begun to see cognitive decline showed improvements as they became more active. So that's a great thing to know, is while we're doing this for ourselves, also, hey, let's bring in our loved one to get some exercise too. And there are more and more studies coming out of the benefits of exercise for those that already have a dementia diagnosis. So how much exercise are we talking about, right? Because that's the big question. How many days of the week do I need to do this? So the standard recommendations from most of the studies that come out say it's about 30 minutes of moderate physical activity most days of the week. Most days meant 5 to 6, okay? And I highlighted and bolded moderate physical activity because this is the important part to it. You got your low intensity exercise, your moderately intense exercise, and your intense exercise. You want to make sure that you're in that moderate range. If it's too low, we're not getting the benefits of the exercise, not as much, right? If it's too high, that can be damaging to some people. It can be really hard on the heart wall. You're more susceptible to injury, to having an injury, kind of things like that. And the moderate physical activity also helps you exercise for longer periods of time. If we're doing high intensity, I can't do it for as long. And this next bullet point, the studies are showing that if I want to do this for 30 minutes, some studies say that you get double the benefits if you do it for longer. So when you go exercise, the length of that individual session can matter. We want to make sure we're hitting 30 minutes, but to get double that, to double the benefits, can we do 45 or 60 minutes? However, if you haven't exercised in a long time, or 30 minutes to even an hour seems really daunting, that's okay, because you can start at the amount of time that you can do. You want to challenge yourself, and you want to make sure you get that heart rate up. You're sweating. You can't be having a really long conversation with the person next to you. It's too hard. I can't talk to you right now because I'm working. I'm challenging myself, right? But if you start to add 5 to 10 minutes a week to each session of exercise until you reach your goal. And just starting to move more throughout the day. That's important. Yeah, we want to make sure and get this dedicated time to exercise in to where we get our heart rate up. But just moving more throughout the day is so much more as important to keep your body in motion and to offset some sedentary rates as well. So types of exercise, just to kind of give you some ideas, and then if y'all have any ideas, please shout them out. The cardio aerobic exercise, this is I need to get my heart rate going, right? I got to get that blood flow going, so I'm getting the oxygen and nutrients to my brain and to my muscles. You can jog, you can walk briskly, not leisurely, briskly. You can go bicycling, you can swim, you can do a rowing machine. Dancing is great. Dancing is, I think, one of the best exercises for brain health, because not only are you dancing, but you have to be coordinated. There's socialization in there with it. Well, you don't have to be coordinated, but it helps to be coordinated. You got the socialization, you're learning new things. There's a lot of brain activity involved in dancing, right? You can climb stairs, you can mow the lawn, or sports are a great way to help get that activity in, because generally most people enjoy sports. Like I want to go play basketball, or I'm going to play tennis, and I can actually do that for a longer period of time than if I'm just going to go run. I'd rather go play tennis for an hour than go run for an hour. And then we have our strength training or resistance training. We aim for 2 sessions of these a week. We're doing the cardio aerobic exercise 5 to 6. But if I do some strength training as well, we want to make sure we're working at all major muscle groups in the body. I don't want to just work out my biceps. We work out everything. There's free weights, there's dumbbells, barbells that you can use, weight machines, resistance bands are also great to use, or using your own body weight. And then there's the mind-body exercises. This is your yoga or your Tai Chi. Pilates can be in there as well. But this is really based on a principle of using your body, your mind, and your breath to achieve physical fitness, but also relaxation. The movements are slow, so it's not hard on your muscles or your body. It really also increases your balance or helps you work on your balance. And the activity is moderately intense. I mean, you think you're moving slow and doing things like that, but it is a challenge, especially if you're not used to doing it. It really does challenge your body. It helps with your better lung function, lowers your blood pressure. So if you can do that and add 1 or 2 sessions of these a week, it's great. Also helps with stretching out those muscles and getting the body a little bit more flexible. And then just knowing that exercise is just one part of an overall fitness. Like I just said, yeah, we want to have that dedicated time to get our heart rate up. And you got your 30 minutes up to an hour, right? But we really aim to be more active overall. Because what happens to a lot of people is they do their 30 minutes of exercise, but then the rest of the day, they're more sedentary. They sit a lot more often, and they're not watching their diet either. So if we're eating poorly and we sit the majority of the day, then that really offsets the benefits of that exercise that we did. So I don't want to do that. And of course, we want to practice safety first. If you're going to start an exercise program or change your exercise program, please talk to your doctor. If you have another chronic illness, you have diabetes, you're worried about bone health, what's the right exercise for me? There are special precautions we need to take. With the weather, like it's hot outside, so we want to make sure to take that into factor. What type of clothes we wear, what type of shoes do we wear, what equipment are we using? So really talking to your doctor, making sure that safety is your #1 priority for this. And then there are tracking your progress. Some people really like to track their progress. Some people don't need it, right? But results are a measure of success. You can see your own weight loss, or you can see your strength improve, or your speed improve. We always want to start slow and work our way up. You can test your cognitive fitness too. So testmybrain.org, and I did this just a couple of days ago, that there's a few tests that they have on there. It's a nonprofit, and they kind of do some research in cognitive fitness. But you can take a test that measures your cognition. It's about 15 minutes to do it. You get your baseline results. And then in about 6 months or 8 months, do it again and see if you've seen an improvement. They do suggest don't test too often because a false result of, well, I know the test, I remember the test from 2 weeks ago, so am I just doing what I've already learned? That makes sense. And then using smart apps on your phone or your computer, or tracking it on a sheet of paper, or marking it off on a calendar. What did I eat today? Crossing off what exercise I did. I did go walk for 30 minutes today. Tomorrow I'm going to go swim. And keeping track of you actually doing it. It can be motivating. There are certain apps that can help you keep track of those things, but also you can do it along with, like you can get a yoga app and do a yoga session with your app on your phone or on your smart TV, right? And it's a good way to help see the needle move if it helps track your progress. There's also things about medication reminders that can help out, and other physical activity. It can measure, some of them can measure like your own heart rate heart rate levels, while you're exercising. So that's really cool too, to be able to see that. And this Wellacrossy, I don't know how to say it, website, some health apps or smart apps are really more marketing apps. They want you to buy something. So if you type in some health apps that you might be looking at, they can do some side-by-side comparisons. What are you actually looking for or needing? And then the imedicalapps.com can give you some credible evaluations and reviews on some of these apps too. So we want to strive for progress and not perfection, reward ourselves along the way, develop a routine. Remember, this is part of our lifelong routine, right? Because life happens. You might get an injury, you might get sick and have to get it out. But not exercise for a couple of weeks and whew, it's hard to start back up, right? But setting goals for ourselves, but being flexible. Find exercise that works for you and that you enjoy. Let's say you and your spouse decide you want to start exercising together and your spouse really likes to bicycle and you can't stand it, but you like to swim, right? We'll see about if you're going to go bicycle with your spouse and you really don't like it, the chances are you sticking to it are kind of slim. So let's throw in something that you really enjoy. And then, of course, talk to your trusted doctor before a plan, or if your plans change, or if you're having problems, ask your doctor about that. So it is about brain health, is about whole person wealth as well. Today we talked about exercise. Next Thursday, we're going to dive into diet and what that looks like for brain health as well. And then we'll cover the rest of these well-being areas over the next 6 weeks. Are there questions or comments or concerns or suggestions on exercise that you all use or you've seen in your seen work for you? Might have to unmute yourself.
The whole time he was talking about exercise, and I was wondering how I could negotiate. Well, I moved some boxes at work today. That's got to be worth something. You know?
It's worth something, yes.
Now, I will say this. I've done yoga with you. You brought some lady. We did yoga. That was fantastic. I have a tendency to overdo things, and I, overstretched. So moderation, go in moderation, I'd suggest when you're new on exercising, and do it. Do exercise. It helps you sleep. It helps you sleep. It helped me sleep at night. So it's a good release.
This is Lisa here. As a caregiver, I just try to walk every day. It just really helps. This is good reminders for my loved one and myself, but I don't know how to work out. So I really want to start. I used to be a runner, but I never liked to exercise. So I really need to start doing some more resistance and, those bars. I even got myself some of those stretchy bars, resistance bands.
Mm-hmm.
And really what you said was so good about not just do the cardio. I'm focusing on cardio, but I really need to get some of that strength training in.
Yeah, it makes a difference on a lot of things, and how you metabolize your food also on the strength that you do or strength exercises you do along with the cardio. So
I didn't realize strength just did so much, I thought it was more cardio, but that's amazing.
Yeah. And I like what you said. I don't know how to exercise. How do you do this? How do you get started? And even now with COVID and all that stuff, there are so many apps and websites and YouTube videos that you can watch and just follow along so you can start learning. So you're talking about yoga. What is this all about? Just Google yoga. You can do 10 minutes an hour and just follow along with them and find what works for you.
I get confused with the reps and sets and how many and all that business. So thank you. That's good.
Yeah, I had the same question too. This is Maria. I do walk, but on the other exercise, I don't do anything. So I really need to find something that I can do. And I'm not a gym person, so I'm mostly at home.
Maria, one of the things that I started doing after my knee replacement at the house, and I've continued doing it because it's easy, is I got an 8-pound medicine ball, and I have it sitting right by my chair. And so even during commercials or something, I'm sitting there and I'll do like up, up, up with my right hand, then my left hand, then over my head.
Oh,
and
okay.
the other thing they had me do was buy the those weights that Velcro around your ankles.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't walk with them on, but I sit there and I do leg lifts with them on.
Oh, well, that's a good idea. I also, I'm interested in something that balance related because, I have an issue with balance. Mm-hmm. So I do have, when I was doing my therapy for my balance, I do have that little spongy mat that walk up and down and up and down. Would that be considered some of that? Or is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure is.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. I like you said, when my those exercises for therapy and all that stuff, pull those exercises back out. Start there. Use those.
And I
Those are
think also the novelty of it, because I write mine on my calendar. So like today at the bottom of Thursday, I'm looking and it says basketball. So I'll be playing basketball this afternoon because I had my husband put me up a basketball goal. And then I've got a video where I went and purchased. I went on Amazon and found the Richard Simmons videos and a DVD from way back.
Oh,
and
wow.
I tell you, I get in there and sweat to the oldies. And then I've got walking as one day because I was getting tired of doing it. So I just do that one day a week. But then I've got a bike where I do my recumbent bike. And then my daughter has a Nintendo Switch Stitch something. I don't know what it is. What is it called, Jamie? You're young.
Oh,
Yeah.
But anyway, it's got a boxing game on it. And so I get out there on my patio and put it on the TV and boom, 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 I'm boxing.
Just do the boxing.
And that's something you can do sitting in the chair too. You don't have to be standing up.
Well, I'm pretty good with my walking, and because that is part of my therapy that I do continue doing because, I walk for 45 minutes, 5 days a week. But the other part I don't. And so, I mean, that's basically all my exercise. I work out in my yard and stuff like that. But, you know, so
I just had to start trying to get creative. Yeah, I was getting bored with just doing one thing and then trying to get the resistance in.
Okay, thank you. I'm hoping to join y'all.
Good.
Well, thank y'all so much for your participation. We love when y'all talk and engage and interact with each other. I will send out the slides and a recording of this video as well to everybody, so you can rewatch it if you want to, or share it with somebody that you think needs it or would appreciate the information. And we will, today's Thursday, tomorrow is Friday, so it's our support group. If you want to join our support group at 11 a.m. tomorrow, please let us know. We'll make sure you get that link. And if there is no other questions or comments, we will hopefully see y'all tomorrow or next week sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
y'all.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.